Hi, on today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to create a princess that freehand way. I am beginning with the back pattern. I'm not going to go into details on this one because I believe it's pretty basic. You most likely already know how to do your back pattern. So that's the first thing I'm doing. I am using the back half length, that is the back waist length, to mark out the back pattern freehand, like I said. For those on the exclusive community that have followed up on all my classes, you already know that for most people the front half length is different from the back half length, and that difference is going to play a role in how we create the princess dart. Now I'm taking the back pattern and I'm using it to draft out the front pattern. So basically the front waist length is 2 inches longer than the back waist length, and that's the 2 inches I'm adding to the front pattern. Now this is not a standard. You have to measure your client. What is the measurement you have at the front from the highest point of the shoulder to their waistline over the bust? You have to pass the tip on top of the person's bust. So from the highest point of the shoulder on top of the person's bust all the way to their waistline, what do you have? Then for the back waist length, you're taking from the highest point of the shoulder all the way to their waistline. Usually you have a minimum difference of 1 inch, but there are people who have no difference at all, maybe those very small busts. In the case of those really tiny busts, then what you should be using is 1 inch as your difference. So you make the front half length longer by 1 inch. But for those that already have a difference between their front and their back half length, you should be calculating it. So front half length minus back half length, or front waist length minus back waist length. Whatever you have is what you will be adding at the bottom, like I did. There are people who have differences of up to even 4 inches. That's for those who are very busty. So whatever you have, that's what you're going to add to the bottom of your front pattern. Now you'll notice that I added half an inch to the armhole line. That's, you should do this if you measured your bust measurement along the armhole line. Now, like I said earlier, if you've been on the exclusive community, you probably already know that when we do our flat pattern, we take our bust measurement on the bust line, not on the armhole line. So at your shoulder to nipple point, that is where we take our bust measurement. But when cutting freehand, you can go ahead and measure your bust along the armhole line. But when cutting the front, you should be adding an extra of half an inch to make the front bigger than the back. There is going to be an adjustment to the armhole line, which I want you to watch carefully as I do it. Take note that we now have the front longer than the back. You understand? So how do we make the sides of both the front and the back to be equal? That's going to be fixed by adjusting the armhole and creating an armhole dart that will be connected to create our princess dart. The 2 inches extra that we have at the front part of the outfit is going to be taken out from the armhole line. So you have a lower armhole line at the front. But if you are worried that it's going to make the armhole loose, you have no issue. It's not going to be a problem. That is what we're going to do with the armhole dart. So with the armhole dart that will be connected into the princess dart, we are still going to take out that 2 inches. Now that the shoulder and neck details have been transferred from the back to the front, you'll notice that I am pulling down the back so that I can mark out a new armhole for the front using the 2 inches we have removed. Can you see that the sides are now equal? If you take out that 2 inches at the top there, you now have them equal. The back and the front are now equal at the sides. But you still have extra space to carry the person's boobs. So that's the whole point. Now that we're done with the back, I'm going to be tracing out the new armhole with the across chest of the front. With the new armhole marked, I am now going ahead to create the armhole dart and eventually the princess dart. So what I am marking out now is shoulder to nipple for the outfit, and then I'm going to mark out the bust distance divided by 2. The bust distance is marked both at the bust point and at the waistline, and then connected with a straight line. Now once this is done, I'm going to go ahead and connect the armhole line, the across chest line, that is that 5-inch point where we mark out the across chest, and connect it to this line with a curve. Now this is where we are creating our armhole dart, but I'm just doing it in a curve form because we are connecting it to create a princess dart. Now back to that 2 inches, we're going to split it into 2. So 1 inch is going above that line and the other 1 inch is going below the line. So are you already seeing our armhole dart? Now I'm going to connect that point to the bust point. Same thing with the other side. Altogether we have 2 inches out there. That 2 inches now, we are removing it from the armhole line. Can you see what I meant when I said you have no issue worrying about the armhole in front being bigger than the back? It's going to be the same because the armhole dart has done its job. And at the bottom, I am marking out the waist dart, which I'm still going to connect to the bust point as well. So basically, a princess dart is a connection of your waist dart to your armhole dart. That's basically what it is. On Instagram, I asked that if anyone had any questions regarding princess dart, they should drop it in the comment section, and someone asked about getting the princess dart to meet at the armhole. It's a common issue people have whereby you join your princess dart and then the armhole is short because one is shorter than the other, and that affects the whole measurement and even flattens the person's bust. To prevent that from happening, watch carefully to see what I'm doing. I'm going to measure the longer part of the dart just like we do when we are doing our bust dart, and then transfer that length to the shorter part of the armhole dart. Once that is done, you now have both dart legs equal, and you can now connect to create a new armhole line. Now when doing that, you're going to add another 1/2 inch again to the armhole line. Depending on how you sew, you can add 1/2 inch or you can add 1 inch, depending on how many inches you use to sew your princess dart. But to avoid a gap at the armhole point, I will suggest that you add just 1/2 inch and then sew your princess dart with 1/4 of an inch. This is so that you don't have too much of an extra at the armhole point after you have sewn the princess dart together. So that is it for our princess dart the freehand way. If you're interested in seeing how to create the princess dart with your pattern paper or using the pattern making method, you can join the exclusive community.
If you're hearing about the exclusive community for the first time today, here's what it's about. It's a Telegram group where you can send in designs you're having difficulties with and have a custom tutorial made for you.
All you have to do is send a picture or a video of the design you're having difficulties with, and a tutorial will be created for you. There are also classes on the pinned messages that cover a variety of topics. You can practice, you can try them out, and send me a DM if you have any difficulties so that I can give you needed assistance. I will be attaching a link below this video for you to join the exclusive community so you can enjoy all the wonderful benefits of being there. Continue watching if you would love to see how I complete the top part of this outfit and how I maintain the stretch of the lace when cutting out the sleeve. It's not a tutorial, it's just a process video that you can learn a lot from.